No one could imagine that inside a battered old gas cylinder lived a beautiful girl with a perfect 36D figure. Whenever she crawled out of the cylinder, she appeared like an airheaded, blank-faced girl. But once she slipped back into the cold steel shell, her whole personality changed. She would start throwing around wild, sultry jokes and even crash into classrooms with a ridiculously flashy entrance, grabbing attention and showing off her love for her chosen boy without any hesitation. All of this madness began one day, 10 years ago, when the girl held a strange, glowing green treasure in her hands. She declared proudly that once the treasure sprouted, she would become the boy's bride. Before he could react, she shoved the strange seed into his mouth and made him swallow it. 10 years later, the boy woke up suddenly from a dream, still remembering her bold promise, when a loud crash shattered the rooftop and a heavy iron lump smashed straight through. Before he could even get out of bed, several green armored mechanical turtles stormed into his room, looking like invaders from another world. Following right behind them was the gas cylinder in a wedding dress. She landed heavily among the mechanical creatures, raised a massive Gatling gun, and without a moment's hesitation, started blasting them into scrap metal. When the dust cleared, the boy's house looked like it had survived a bombing raid. The cylinder bride, having finished off the last turtle, turned to him and slowly approached. Horrified at the thought of having a gas can as a wife, he panicked and bolted outside. Right at the door, he crashed into his childhood friend Xiao Yuan. Seeing his disheveled state, she immediately stepped forward and began straightening his clothes, even fixing his undone zipper without a second thought. Maybe even a motherly girlfriend wouldn't have been so thorough. As they walked towards school, Xiao Yuan told him excitedly that a new transfer student was joining the class today, and rumor had it she was a dark-skinned beauty. While they were heatedly discussing it, the gas cylinder once again made a dramatic entrance, smashing through the classroom window and landing perfectly in front of everyone. She immediately yanked the boy into her arms, pressed his head against her chest, and forcefully announced their marriage, even pulling out a wedding cake she had prepared. Wielding her Gatling gun threateningly, she forced the entire class to clap and cheer. The boy was terrified. As her giant face loomed closer and closer, he couldn't take it anymore. He fled again, this time running 18 floors up to the rooftop. Breathless and confused, he wondered how his life had turned into such a mess. But somewhere in the depths of his memory, the image of that little girl from 10 years ago flashed by. Still, even with that memory, it was hard to accept that she had turned into this. While he stood frozen on the rooftop, Xiao Yuan called out to him, telling him to stop thinking about that girl he hadn't seen in a decade and to cherish the people around him instead. But the boy snapped back that it had nothing to do with her. Hurt and furious, Xiao Yuan punched him square in the face and tried to strangle him with a mop handle. Just as they were wrestling, a suspicious-looking rice cooker crept up from the edge of the rooftop. Xiao Yuan fainted at the sight, and a giant mechanical hand shot out from inside the cooker, locking onto the boy. As he struggled, just when it seemed like he would be crushed, the gas cylinder smashed in and kicked the mechanical arm away. She battled the mechanical enemy fiercely for over 2 minutes without a clear victor. Finally, the giant mechanical hand clenched into a fist, aiming to end it all in one strike. Calmly, the gas cylinder unleashed a full military-style counterattack. Her protagonist aura burned brighter and brighter, and with one final move, she shattered the mechanical hand into pieces and stomped its core into dust. The gas cylinder turned toward the boy once more, extending her hand toward him like a bride inviting her groom to the altar. Completely overwhelmed, the boy stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet. He wanted to scream, but his voice got stuck in his throat. That's when the cylinder's body started twitching uncontrollably. Her head split apart in a sickening crack, and from the glowing core of the cylinder, a new figure began to emerge. Twin glowing eyes flashed from within, and a strange shadow crawled out. The boy's mind instantly jumped to horror movies. Was he about to witness a ghost or a monster? But then, with a sudden bounce, a stunningly beautiful 36D girl burst out from the shell. Her face was flawless, her body graceful and seductive, so dazzling that the boy's jaw nearly hit the ground. For a moment, everything seemed surreal, but then she staggered and collapsed, blood seeping from a wound on her side. The earlier battle had left her injured, and now the pain caught up with her, pulling her into unconsciousness. Without thinking, the boy rushed forward to catch her, receiving the unexpected blessing of her falling right into his arms, her smooth skin pressing against his face like a silky dream. On his left was his childhood friend, Xiao Yuan. On his right, the mysterious falling from the sky beauty. Truly, it seemed like he had reached the peak of life. Dragging both girls to the infirmary, he tried to collect his thoughts. Meanwhile, Xiao Yuan woke up first, only to find the injured beauty lying beside her, blood trickling from the girl's abdomen. Panicking, Xiao Yuan screamed for help, but before anyone could respond, the wounded girl jolted upright, instincts kicking in. She whipped out a gun strapped to her thigh and scanned the surroundings, ready to defend herself. But before she could react further, the teacher outside the door pushed it open, catching her mid-battle stance. Blood spurted anew from her wound. Grimacing, she tore open her clothes just enough to treat her injury with a hastily grabbed first aid spray. Without wasting another second, she dashed out of the room, determined to find her missing gas cylinder. At that very moment, the gas cylinder was hiding right under the boy's leg. His clue clueless best friend spotted the suspicious lump and began teasing him, trying to force him to pull it out and reveal what he was hiding. To avoid further humiliation, the boy desperately lied, claiming that there was a UFO outside the window, and by pure coincidence, a massive mechanical hand was indeed floating outside in the sky. As everyone froze in shock, the beautiful girl from earlier returned, smiling sweetly as she reunited with her beloved cylinder. The boy, seizing the moment, tried to confirm if she was the same girl from his childhood memory, but before he could even finish asking, she looked out the window with alarm. The floating hand had summoned a gigantic iron spike, aiming it straight at their school. Chaos erupted instantly, with students fleeing in every direction. Yet the girl didn't panic. Calmly, she climbed back into her cylinder in front of everyone. How she managed to squeeze her curvy body into that cramped metal shell was anyone's guess. With a roar, she launched herself at the iron spike, intercepting it midair. At first glance, it seemed like she was struggling, but in truth, she was simply holding back. As her dazzling eyes glowed brighter, she hurled the massive weapon back toward the floating hand with overwhelming force, shattering it completely. Victorious once again, she made a grand, heroic exit, disappearing from view as the stunned crowd watched in awe. The boy thought the madness had finally ended, until he opened his front door and found a bride standing inside his house, waiting for him. The boy froze at the doorstep. Standing inside his home, dressed as a bride, was the gas cylinder girl. Only now, she looked even more unhinged than before. There was something unsettling about her expression, something wild in her eyes. As she slowly approached, the boy's instincts screamed at him to run. It felt like his very soul was about to be devoured by those gleaming eyes. Trembling, he nervously asked if she could maybe come out of the gas cylinder for a moment. He needed to talk. Unexpectedly, she obediently complied, slipping out of the metal casing. Gathering every ounce of courage, the boy demanded to know who she really was. Pulling out an old photo of his first love from 10 years ago, he desperately asked if she was the same girl. Instead of answering, she suddenly bolted to the window, aiming her gun at a small shadow she had spotted outside, only to realize it was just a stray kitten. Staring at the kitten in stunned silence, the girl turned back and said softly that she had never met the boy before. His heart sank at her words. He felt a bitter disappointment clench inside his chest, but before he could say anything, she flinched, panicking under his questioning gaze, and retreated back into her gas cylinder, striking a flashy pose as if trying to escape the situation with style. Meanwhile, all the ruckus upstairs caught the attention of the boy's younger sister downstairs. Thinking there was a burglar upstairs, she grabbed a frying pan, determined to protect her brother at all costs. Upstairs, the boy sat mourning his first love's photo, which had been ruined. To distract him, the gas cylinder girl pointed out of the window toward the towering headquarters of an electronics company, their supposed enemy. When the boy asked why, she simply replied that it wasn't time for him to know yet. Then she casually nudged him to resume whatever he had been doing before. Embarrassed and grossed out, the boy recoiled, making the atmosphere even more awkward. Downstairs, the sister found the living room a total mess. She didn't even know where to begin complaining, but before she could yell, she realized there was something more urgent. She didn't give the boy any chance to explain, dragging him out of the house. The two of them raced to the rooftop, where the sister tried to talk some sense into him, telling him how hard their mother had worked to raise them alone after their father died. She was furious that her brother had turned into such a disgrace. In a moment of heated emotion, she hurled her frying pan straight at a suspicious-looking spaceship that happened to be parked nearby. The pan struck it dead on, igniting the ship into flames and sending it shooting straight upward into the sky. Unfortunately, the sister's skirt got caught on the flaming spaceship, and she was yanked into the air with it, screaming. Without thinking, the boy leapt after her, climbing desperately up the wreckage to save her. In his panic, he accidentally yanked her clothes upward, causing a series of frantic punches and kicks as the sister beat him senseless midair. Their bodies twisted and tumbled toward the ground. Just when it seemed they were doomed, the gas cylinder girl blazed into action, catching them both in the nick of time and scolding them fiercely. The brother and sister finally realized how stupid and reckless they had been. Yet before they could even catch their breath, the sister pointed accusingly at the gas cylinder girl, declaring that she had to take responsibility now. She always dreamed of having a reliable older sister, and now she was claiming the gas cylinder girl as hers. The girl, of course, had no reason to refuse. Overjoyed, the sister grinned from ear to ear, bouncing with excitement as she officially declared, "From now on, you're my big sister." That was how, in the strangest twist of fate, their bizarre new family took shape. But the surprises weren't over yet. As it turned out, this strange gas cylinder wasn't just a girl. It came with a built-in ability to change appearances. She could transform into a pure, innocent, dark-skinned high schooler or a seductive, stunning teacher at will. Morning came, and the boy groggily opened his eyes, only to be greeted by the sight of the gas cylinder girl gazing at him lovingly, whispering a soft "good morning" in a voice so tender it almost sent him straight to the afterlife. Furious and embarrassed, the boy tried to fight back, but the girl had already prepared her ultimate weapon, puppy dog eyes of pure guilt. Later that day, after a brutal beating from his sister for being noisy, the boy wandered to school, still brooding, and there, standing proudly in front of the classroom, was the gas cylinder girl, this time disguised perfectly as an intern teacher. His horror knew no bounds. The homeroom teacher casually introduced her to the class, saying she was here to help for a while. The boy's jaw dropped in despair. Oh, just when he thought it couldn't get any worse, the storage cabinet next to him creaked ominously. After class, he tried to corner the gas cylinder girl and force her to explain what was really going on. But before they could have a proper conversation, a new threat arrived, an electric wave girl who had her own ideas about disrupting their crazy lives. Watching the boy and the gas cylinder girl interacting like an old married couple, the electric wave girl couldn't help but smirk knowingly. But little did anyone realize, the real nightmare had just begun. The boy barely had time to process the madness when the gas cylinder girl pulled him aside after class, pressing herself against him and rambling about marriage again. Just as she prepared to seal the deal, Xiao Yuan, unable to stand the sight any longer, stormed in and yanked him away. The gas cylinder girl immediately sensed something, an invisible threat lurking nearby, and warned them both to stay alert. She confessed that someone had been watching them since last night, and from now on, she wasn't going to let the boy out of her sight. But the boy was already at his limit. He couldn't take the crazy anymore. Ignoring her warning, he sprinted off on his own. When they all arrived at school the next day, disaster struck. A mysterious figure in a black cloak appeared out of nowhere and ripped open the boy's shirt, causing him to scream for help. It was the start of a brutal attack. The black-cloaked girl wanted to test the strange power hidden inside him. Meanwhile, the gas cylinder girl launched into action, clashing fiercely with the intruder. With every strike, the air crackled. The gas cylinder girl demanded to know who the attacker was, but the black-cloaked figure just smiled coldly, shedding her outer robe to reveal a beautiful, fierce girl underneath. With a wave of her hand, a black cat leapt into battle, tackling the boy to the ground while the two girls exchanged ferocious blows. Although the gas cylinder girl was short and looked silly, her fighting skills were sharp, dodging every attack by a hair's breadth. But eventually, the enemy managed to clamp a control collar around the boy's neck, pulling a weapon and preparing to finish him off. Xiao Yuan, watching from inside the classroom, was torn. Part of her wanted to rush out and save him, but after everything that had happened, she hesitated. Outside, the gas cylinder girl battled desperately to protect him. Even as she was knocked back again and again, she refused to give up. Finally, as the boy's strength nearly gave out, a new surge of energy awakened inside him, his hidden power roaring to life. Seeing it, the enemy girl readied herself for the real fight. But the gas cylinder girl, sensing the danger, didn't hesitate. She abandoned defense, threw herself at him, and pinned him down, using her body to shield him from losing control. As his wild energy finally subsided, he opened his eyes to find her cradling him, trembling but smiling. Nearby, Xiao Yuan watched, heartbroken. This is the first time the girl has worn a dress out on the street. Hiding under her pure and gentle appearance is a terrifying transformation ability. With a single command, the gas cylinder mecha smashes through the wall, and the girl slips inside with an eerie, twisted posture, merging with it so completely that she can defeat dozens of robots all by herself, and can even turn a single rope into a woven basket. Earlier that morning, the gas cylinder had barged into the boy's room rudely, pulling out 2 movie tickets, and soon the two of them arrived at the shopping street. Looking at the couples walking side by side, the boy felt so sad he could not say a word, completely confused why he even came to a place like this. Remembering how his mom and sister had already been bribed by the gas cylinder, the boy felt filled with complaints, but had nowhere to let them out. He only wanted to finish the movie quickly and go home, but the gas cylinder clearly had other plans, dragging him straight to the bowling alley, wanting to try the power of bowling for himself. Although the boy didn't quite understand, he still decided to play one game with the gas cylinder. Meanwhile, a couple in the arcade was teasing each other, moving back and forth, and just like any other couple, the boy and the gas cylinder started their date, climbing a 100-meter tower with their bare hands trying to challenge the limits of human strength. With the gas cylinder's endless crazy stunts, the boy felt half his life had been taken, but the gas cylinder still had one last place to visit, and the boy decided to give up, refusing to join no matter what was said. Just then, the store door opened and a beautiful figure flashed in front of the boy. It was his cheap bride, whose beauty made him freeze on the spot, staring until he finally snapped out of it, asking her why she was dressed like this. It turned out that in the morning, while she was treating her wounds, the boy had been annoyed by her silent attitude and complained that she always wore that tight suit that smelled terribly by now, which deeply hurt the girl's girlish heart. And now she grabbed his hand and walked off. And even though he was being dragged along, the boy's cheeks were now flushed red because truly, men are visual creatures. They arrived at the cinema, and as he watched the girl eat popcorn, the boy felt nervous, unable to understand his own feelings. And as he glanced at the kissing scene on the screen, his eyes unconsciously moved to the girl's lips, and just then, she reached out her hand. With just a simple sentence from her, the boy's expression became extremely shaken, and awkwardly, he reached out his hand too, but suddenly the screen lit up, and all the customers in the cinema tore off their disguises, revealing themselves as robots from the electronics company. They quickly surrounded the boy and the girl, and before the boy could understand what was happening, the robots started attacking. And seeing this, Maimei smiled. The gas cylinder appeared heroically, clearing the battlefield with a spinning kick. The robots were no match for his alien core power, and he even found time to rescue his team's red-armored warrior. Even though the gas cylinder's combat power was overwhelming. There were just too many enemies. And to make matters worse, there was a thunder bomb right beside him, and the boy suddenly remembered he still had a jump rope with him. After it all ended, Maimei crawled out of the gas cylinder to gaze at the night sky, feeling that the city's stars were incredibly beautiful, while the boy scoffed, saying stars look the same no matter where you see them. But if you looked closely, inside that small mecha was hiding a stunning beauty, with a proud figure and elegant movements that were simply too enchanting, and facing such a charming woman. Could the boy really keep his heart steady? Summer vacation was starting from today, and everyone was excited, but the boy remained calm because the teacher standing at the podium was his wife, a pure and beautiful young girl. But the moment she sat inside the gas cylinder, her personality changed completely, and he simply couldn't feel happy about it. After discussing, Xiaoquan and the others decided to go on a trip together. Even Liangzi was going. And as the boy's classmate, when the boy first saw Liangzi, he was so scared his legs went soft. But after understanding, he found out that Liangzi was a mysterious student who had never shown up since the start of the school year. Just then, the ninja gas cylinder appeared heroically, insisting on accompanying the boy as his guardian on the trip. And seeing the moody gas cylinder, the boy showed a constipated expression, and watching the two get along so well, Xiaoquan couldn't sit still and pushed the gas cylinder aside. Finally, unable to take it anymore, the boy ran back home, only to be greeted by his family dressed in revealing summer clothes, making the boy think this was some new type of scam. But his mother told him a guest had arrived. The boy laughed, but a voice came from behind him, and his mother, thinking this was a love debt the boy had gotten himself into, nosily asked him what was going on. But the boy just told them all to get lost, as he pulled his belongings and returned to his room, questioning Maisie about who she really was. At that time, the gas cylinder was having an intense fight with Liangzi over different hobbies, completely unaware that his own base had been robbed, while Xiao Quan was so frightened by the craziness of everyone that he trembled. And at last, the boy finally realized that the Sanji Mo Company had always been his enemy, and facing the boy's hostility, Vanilla only gave a faint smile, making the boy feel like he was being played, and he demanded Vanilla to reveal his true intentions. Vanilla pointed to the speaker beside him, which carried the Sanji Mo logo. And not only that, but all the appliances in the house had the same mark, and as a universe-level company that had entered thousands of homes, Vanilla had only one reason to visit the boy today. And then, a man suddenly appeared behind, startling the boy, who turned out to be Kate, the head of the development department of the Sanji Mo Company, who slowly walked up to the boy and firmly patted his spiky head, saying that touching a hedgehog head would bring in good staff. And though the boy felt confused, Kate was only there to help him and to tell him one important thing. Looking at the robots that suddenly barged in, the boy turned pale with fear, and Vanilla quickly ordered Kate to stop, but Kate felt that negotiations needed to be tougher, so he struck without hesitation. And in this dangerous moment, Kate's face was full of disdain as he decided that today's work would end here, promising to come back to play with the boy next time, leaving the boy standing there completely confused while Vanilla took the chance to pounce on him to comfort him. And the boy finally managed to stuff him back in, and they began to talk about the real matter, wanting to know Maymei's true identity. But Vanilla told him to go to the place after tomorrow in 10 days, and then the boy would understand everything. And at that moment, a 40-year-old mother was performing high-difficulty gymnastics moves, all thanks to having a competent fitness instructor. And under the gas cylinder's strong demands, the boy was also forced to wear women's clothes to join the training, feeling like he was completely wasting his time, which reminded him of the woman who smelled so nice yesterday, so sexy that he couldn't handle it. And just then, the gas cylinder charged at him with a chainsaw, crazily attacking him, suspecting that the boy was daydreaming about inappropriate things. And as the boy was about to lose his life under his wife's hands, his savior arrived, and seeing the sudden luxury car, the whole family was stunned as the electric wave girl stepped down, bringing bad news, and the boy rushed to Xiao Quan's house faster than ever in his life, bursting through the door. But it seemed he came at the wrong time and was sent flying by the furious Xiao Quan, who was actually fine and only had a slight fever from a cold, making the boy realize he had been tricked. But the electric wave girl didn't care, saying she would do anything for her best friend's happiness. And now the biggest problem was that Xiao Quan's cold would take at least a week to recover, making it impossible to join the collaboration in 3 days. But Xiao Quan calmly said she would be fine, and with the handsome nurse outfit of the gas cylinder, a little fangirl was instantly won over. But the boy didn't trust her at all, thinking the gas cylinder was just a pretty face with nothing inside, and the gas cylinder didn't like hearing that, immediately wanting to demonstrate her medical skills. And after her diagnosis, she claimed that with her special medicine, Xiao Quan would recover in 2 days, but it required an injection. And after the boy stopped her in time, the gas cylinder decided to try food therapy, and seeing the boy's distrustful little eyes, she directly fed Xiao Quan a bite, making the boy feel like he was ascending to heaven on the spot, and ignoring the boy who had turned into a dry corpse. The gas cylinder decided to use her ultimate move, dressing Xiao Quan in a cute outfit, believing that wearing something completely different would refresh the body, not only in teacher uniforms but also in black leather and even gothic Lolita, with all kinds of cosplay being easy for her. But the most important was the gymnastics outfit, because to reduce fever, cylinder, you need to sweat, and to sweat, you need to exercise. And with Xiao Quan messing around with the gas cylinder, she quickly turned from slightly ill to critically ill, and the gas cylinder silently pulled out a bag of green onions, deciding to use an old folk remedy, saying that putting green onions in the back would cure the cold quickly, just like that. And at this point, Xiao Quan could only say goodbye to the electric wave girl with a smile, and as she watched her friends leave, Xiao Quan couldn't hold it in anymore, tears welling up in her eyes, completely forgetting about the boy, and when she realized her expression was seen, she felt embarrassed, pretending her eyes were just tired, while the boy didn't know what to say. And Xiao Quan told him to enjoy his holiday with the gas cylinder and the others, making the boy turn away awkwardly, thinking it would be best to travel together. And since Xiao Quan had always been healthy, a cold would surely heal in 3 days, and if it was Xiao Quan, she would definitely be fine. And upon hearing this, Xiao Quan felt strangely touched, wiping away her tears and remembering when they were young, how whenever she fell, the boy would encourage her, even diving into the river to find her lost things, always smiling even when he fell, and ending the memory. Xiao Quan's face turned red as she picked up a pillow and smashed it hard on the boy. And this boy, who was just walking down the street, was suddenly face-kicked by a flying girl, hearing a crack, feeling like he saw his long-dead father, and thankfully Liangzi gave him quick first aid, saving his dog life. And when the boy came to, he felt like a fool, and Liangzi, who had promised to treat him to a meal to apologize, ended up making the boy pay with the excuse of forgetting his wallet. And the boy hadn't forgotten what Liangzi had done to him, and seeing Liangzi trying to bribe him with a single French fry, the boy felt helpless, now only wanting to know who Liangzi really was, and seeing how curious the boy was, Liangzi didn't say no, but he had one condition first, and as Liangzi ate heartily, the boy was collapsing, watching as Liangzi devoured countless desserts, fearing his wallet would be emptied into the trash, and to comfort him, Liangzi showed him his lucky color of the day, making the boy cover his eyes in pain, seriously doubting whether Liangzi was really a girl. And finally, Liangzi began talking about the real matter, saying it shouldn't be discussed here, but in a quiet place where they could be alone, and seeing the flushed face and shy expression of the girl before him, the boy's heart wavered, and soon he brought Liangzi to a deserted grove with countless movie scenes flashing through his mind. But Liangzi seemed impatient, stepping forward to hug the boy tightly, and when the two of them reached the mountain, the view of the city below made Liangzi so happy, saying that this kind of place was perfect for doing hidden things, which made the boy's mind race with countless thoughts until Liangzi's urging brought him back to reality. And when they sat down on the bench, watching Liangzi's flowing hair swaying in the wind, the boy was stunned, not understanding why his heart was beating so fast, and at that moment Liangzi felt light and free, finally back to the starting point, finally a true world for the two of them, when suddenly, a giant robot launched a sneak attack from behind, and Liangzi, who had already noticed the robot's presence, originally thought it was after the boy, but now realized it was targeting him, and without a word, the robot pulled out its weapon, threatening Liangzi to reveal his true identity, saying that attacks on this planet were all crimes to him. Union Police Department number 88, Kurosaki Reiko, code, black girl, and now you will be deleted. And with the wind rising, the battle between the robot and the police began, with Liangzi's long blade unbelievably sharp, and with a single clash, the robot's drill was sliced clean in half by Liangzi's blade. But seeing that it was no match, the robot cleverly used the environment, yanking out a streetlight that instantly became a weapon in its hands, beating Liangzi viciously. Yet Liangzi leapt up, watching as the robot hurled the streetlight, pulling the trigger to fire a shot that froze the robot in place before slicing down with precision, the blade returning to its sheath as the robot was chopped into pieces. And meanwhile, the boy finally realized he had been tricked, understanding that Liangzi never intended to tell the truth and only wanted a free meal, and remembering how his heart had fluttered earlier made the boy hate himself for being so weak. And when he returned to the scene, he saw Liangzi standing casually in the middle of the battlefield, stealing the boy's drink as if nothing had happened, truly the most charming villainous big sister. And finally, the day came to uncover the mystery of the gas cylinder gentleman, and the boy found Vanilla alone, demanding if she would finally tell him the truth, and Vanilla, with a gentle smile, elegantly leapt in front of him, and as her affectionate smile shone, a robot approached from behind, making the boy's eyes dim before he fainted in its arms, while elsewhere, the gas cylinder learned from the mother that the boy had gone missing and felt a strong sense of dread, leaping out from the rooftop and dashing rapidly through the city in search. But after finding nothing, the gas cylinder stopped atop a utility pole, and without another word, the furious gas cylinder engaged in battle with two groups, and after a tense struggle, both sides paused temporarily, while the boy finally awoke, looking around to see Vanilla performing a dance, and then, stepping out of the mecha, she calmed his nerves before pulling out several sets of tables and chairs from underground, ready for a special lesson. And under the praise of several quirky online fans, Vanilla displayed her charms thoroughly while the boy sat speechless, his heart unmoved despite being a healthy teenager. And finally, they got to the point about who Mei truly was, where she came from, and why she approached the boy. And to know all of this, he first had to learn a truth about a tragedy 10 years ago, when a genius scientist developed humanity humanity's ultimate invention that could produce infinite power, but one day, this incomplete ultimate invention vanished due to a sudden tragedy, with its developer, Sanji Mozong Yilang, murdered and the unfinished invention stolen, and the boy swallowed hard, uninterested in these stories, wanting only to hear about Mei Mei. But before he could react, the ground started shaking, throwing him off balance as he fell to the ground and rolled, while Vanilla received a report from her subordinates that intruders had entered, with the guarding robots unable to resist. And there was more than one intruder, as Mei Mei, for her husband's sake, put aside her prejudices to cooperate with Liangzi, leading to the grand finale of The Steel Bride. And from the sexy big sister, the boy learned that the gas cylinder was the murderer of his biological father. But before he could understand the truth, the gas cylinder and Liangzi had already broken in, and upon understanding the situation, Vanilla calmly pressed her neck, instantly suiting up in battle gear, gently comforting the boy, assuring him not to worry, as she would never let Mei Mei monopolize that power alone. The very same ultimate invention hidden within the boy's body, leaving him completely dumbfounded, and soon Vanilla took him into the elevator. But suddenly, the gas cylinder burst through the wall, shattering the elevator and causing the boy to fall. But the gas cylinder, agile and quick, managed to save him at the last second, prompting Vanilla's cold mockery about what would happen if something happened to the boy, leaving the gas cylinder silent, yet putting the quarrel aside. The gas cylinder's priority was to protect her husband and not let any bad woman steal him away. And the battle broke out immediately as the gas cylinder launched an attack without hesitation to show this woman who dared to approach her husband that she was not to be messed with. But Vanilla was strong as well, and the two fiercely clashed, evenly matched until the gas cylinder's large blade was shattered, and she was sent flying by Vanilla, falling back step by step off the platform. But her body, tough as iron, allowed her to pierce her hands into the wall, stopping her fall before she transformed into Spider-Man to climb back up, only to find Vanilla waiting, attacking without mercy. And despite the danger, the gas cylinder seized an opportunity to jump up, while Vanilla followed with a spinning attack using her fan, causing sparks to fly from the gas cylinder's defensive arms, until suddenly, the gas cylinder's eyes lit up as she swelled with power, knocking Vanilla to the ground before leaping high to unleash her falling kick. And in that blurred moment, Vanilla seemed to see Mei Mei merging with the gas cylinder, and the force of the kick smashed the ground into pieces, leaving Vanilla lying powerless as the gas cylinder walked away coolly. And the boy once again questioned her true identity, freezing the atmosphere instantly as the boy spoke of everything he had heard, and Mei Mei suddenly reached out to grab him, anxiously insisting it wasn't true, looking at him before hesitating again, leaving the boy stunned as he couldn't understand what she meant while Mei Mei tried to brush it off. But suddenly, Vanilla's voice rang from behind, revealing she had escaped unscathed using a clever trick, and the real battle was only just beginning, with the boy suddenly stepping between them. Saying he still wanted to believe in Mei Mei, and looking at the emotional Vanilla, he explained that he didn't think Mei Mei was a bad person, leaving both women stunned, as Vanilla couldn't understand this reasoning and the boy himself wasn't sure, admitting that Mei Mei's personality was terrible, gloomy, extremely violent, and had a strange smell. When suddenly, a change startled everyone as Mei Mei remembered she had accidentally destroyed the lower floor's development area just earlier. Just then, Liangzi burst out riding a motorcycle, calling out for the two of them to hurry and leave, but Vanilla suddenly called out to the boy, and standing there between the two women, the boy hesitated for a moment before choosing to walk forward, leaving Vanilla behind with a face full of disappointment as she fell into the abyss. And as the boy and the others finally escaped, Xiao Quan suddenly appeared in front of them, scaring the boy so badly that all the color drained from his face. And then the boy walked up behind the downcast Mei Mei and gave her a firm smack, but as they all walked away with their cool figures fading into the distance, a girl quietly appeared from behind.